You know how some software just clicks? It feels essential, like you can't work without it. And then there are other tools, even really good ones, that just feel like one more thing to manage. Well, the secret isn't always about having more features. It's about connection. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. How winning in the world of modern software is all about becoming part of a bigger, interconnected ecosystem.
And this really paints the perfect picture of the shift we're talking about. For so long, software was built like a bunch of isolated islands. Each one might have been great on its own, but getting from one to the other, that took a lot of manual work. The new way, though, is a completely connected world, a bustling continent of services where information just flows. This is the fundamental change we're going to unpack.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the problem with software that stands alone. Then, we'll introduce the solution, the API economy. We'll see how that becomes a massive growth engine, check out some real companies that are absolutely crushing it with this strategy, and then take a quick peek at what's next.
Okay, let's get right into it. Section 1, the standalone SaaS problem. Because, before we can really appreciate the solution, we have to get our heads around why the old model is just, well, it's broken.
If you rewind the clock a bit, back to the early days of software as a service, or SaaS, the goal was pretty simple, right? The game was to build the absolute best individual tool for one specific job. The best accounting software, the best email marketing tool. You won if your product was the undisputed king of its own little castle. But the world has changed.
And here's where the friction starts, and this probably sounds familiar. The typical business today is juggling dozens, sometimes hundreds of different applications. And when those tools don't talk to each other, you get this mess of disconnected workflows. We've all been there, right? Copying and pasting from one window to another. It's not just a little annoying, it's a massive waste of time and energy. And honestly, customers today have zero patience for it. They demand and expect things to just work together.
Which leads us perfectly into our second section. Because all that friction we just talked about, there's a solution. And you could say it's kind of the hero of our story, the API economy. This is what smooths everything out. So what's the magic behind all this? It's something called an API. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like a universal translator or a secure messenger between two different software programs. It's a set of rules that lets them talk to each other, share data, and get things done without either one needing to know the messy internal details of the other. It's the language of connection.
And when you take that idea and multiply it by thousands, you get something so much bigger. You get the API economy. This isn't just about one-to-one connections anymore. It's a full-blown marketplace of services and data, where companies can literally plug their products into others to create these brand new, incredibly powerful integrated experiences.
And there it is. We're back to our core metaphor. APIs are the bridges, the shipping lanes, the trade routes. They're what turned all those lonely software islands into a single, thriving, interconnected world of digital services. It's a total paradigm shift. All right, so the concept makes sense. But how does this actually help a business succeed? How does it affect the bottom line? That's what we're getting into right now in Section 3, the integration growth engine.
And this is absolutely crucial. Thinking of APIs as just a technical checkbox for the engineering team is a huge, huge mistake. They are not just features. They are powerful strategic growth multipliers. Integration isn't just a task for developers. It's a core business strategy.
So how does that strategy actually pay off? Well, first, it makes your customers stick around. When your product is woven deep into their daily workflow, it becomes essential. It's way harder to rip out and replace. Second, you open up entirely new markets by partnering with other companies. And third, you can create new revenue streams by letting other developers build cool new tools on top of your platform.
Okay, that all sounds great. But how does this initial growth get real momentum? How does it become a self-reinforcing cycle that just gets stronger and stronger over time?
It happens through what we call the API economy flywheel, and it's a beautiful thing. It starts with integration. Your product connects to others, and bam, it's immediately more useful. That extra usefulness drives faster adoption. Then, because your product is so deeply embedded, you get way better retention. That creates new opportunities for expansion, like upselling. And all of that success fuels ecosystem growth, attracting even more partners, which, you guessed it, makes your product even more useful. And the flywheel just spins faster and faster.
So, let's bring this all down to earth. This flywheel concept is great in theory, but let's look at how real companies are putting it into practice. That brings us to Section 4, how ecosystems win in the real world.
Because here's the reality of the market today. The biggest names in SaaS aren't just winning because their core product is a little bit better. They're winning because they have built the most powerful and valuable ecosystems around their products.
I mean, just look at these examples. Take Slack. Is it just a messaging app? No way. Its real power is that it's the central hub for thousands of other work apps. Or look at Shopify. It's not just a website builder, it's a complete e-commerce platform that powers payments, shipping, marketing, you name it, all through its APIs. And Stripe, they became a giant by focusing on creating super developer-friendly APIs that now power the financial backbone of countless other businesses. So the secret here is almost counterintuitive. They win by helping others win. By building platforms that allow an entire ecosystem to succeed around them, they make themselves completely indispensable. Their value isn't just what they built, it's the entire universe of value they enabled.
Okay, for our final section, let's look to the horizon. We know the future is connected, but what's the next evolution of the API economy? Where is this all headed?
Well, the next frontier is moving from simple connections to smart ones. We can call it intelligent integration. Imagine APIs supercharged with AI. They won't just move data when you tell them to. They'll start to predict what you need, optimize workflows on the fly, and surface critical insights before you even know to ask for them.
This leads to a pretty fascinating future. Software is going to stop feeling like a collection of tools that we have to manage, and more like a living, breathing ecosystem that anticipates our needs and constantly adapts to help us work better.
So after looking at all this, the main takeaway is undeniable. In today's API economy, if your product is an isolated island, you are operating at a severe, and I mean severe, strategic disadvantage. Connection isn't a nice-to-have anymore, it's the absolute key to survival and growth.
And I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought, because it's a fundamental reframing of strategy for anyone building software today. The most important question is no longer about what you can build yourself. It's about how you can connect to the incredible value that's already out there. Because in today's market, the products that connect win.